Knight in Shining Suit by Jerilee Kay. Performed by Sarah Grace Wright. And please, find me a straight guy. I heard a suppressed chuckle from the counter as soon as I hung up. I saw Ryder smiling crookedly, and although he was not looking at me, I knew the smile was for me. I raised a brow. You shouldn't eavesdrop on other people's conversations, I said, sipping my margarita and not looking at him. I wouldn't have if your voice weren't so loud, he said, approaching me. Oh, sorry, I said. People talk loud in bars, you know. Well, you should know. Yes, I know, he grinned. So, what's the quest for a straight guy for? Lie, I told myself, but the liquor in my system and the frustration I felt for being stood up by my best friends were wearing me out. Not just a straight guy, but a straight guy who's willing to do anything for a couple of grand. He raised a brow. You're not doing porn, are you? I stared at him, clearly perturbed by the thought, and then burst out laughing. Oh my God, no, I said when I finally found my voice. Well, it's not porn, but it does involve playing the part of lovers. Now I'm intrigued. What could a girl like you possibly need a straight guy for? He asked me. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, I said to him. Try me, he said with a grin. It's a long story, I said. I'm here all night, he insisted. Yeah, but you're working. It's a lax night, he said. I narrowed my eyes at him. You're pretty persistent, aren't you? He shrugged. I'm a straight guy. Who knows? I just might be able to help you out. Oh, as if. I rolled my eyes. You don't strike me as desperate. He raised a brow. Everybody has needs, honey. I sighed. Okay, where do I start? From the top? He grinned as he flashed me that gorgeous smile. I couldn't help thinking, I could go to bed with this guy. Then I shook myself back to reality. I took the last swallow of my margarita. Perhaps you should give me another margarita first. Right away, ma'am, he said. He disappeared for a while, and when he came back, he handed me another margarita and a bowl of cheese sticks. Margarita and cheese sticks on the house, he said. Wow, all these for the pathetic story of my life? I asked, taking a bite of a cheese stick. Well, some stories are worth paying for, he smiled. I sighed. Okay, I don't really see the point why I should be telling the tale of my somewhat sad life to a complete stranger, but whatever. He leaned closer to me, and my breath caught in my throat. What color are your eyes? He asked. Oh, they're blue, I replied. You're wearing contacts, he said. I nodded. My eyes are bluish violet. He took a step back and smiled. Nice color. Why do you want to hide that? It's too different. Different is good, he said. So, what's the story of your life? He asked. He picked up the champagne glasses in front of him and wiped them one by one as he listened to me. Okay, so 3 months ago, I had everything. A wonderful fiancé I was in love with, the job of making dreams come true, a best friend who is also my cousin, who I grew up and lived with most of my life. I was trying my best not to cry again. My life was perfect. I was planning my wedding, the wedding I had pictured in my head ever since I was a little girl. But 3 months ago, I found out that my fiancé was sleeping with my cousin, and he knocked her up. To cut a long story short, my world fell apart. I lost my job because I could no longer picture the perfect wedding or imagine happily ever after. The apartment I was living in belonged to my cousin. I couldn't bear to live there anymore. I had to crash at my cousin's brother's place temporarily until I got a job or my act together, whichever came first. Again, I was reminded of how sad my life was. I was at my lowest point, or so I thought. A couple of weeks ago, I found out that my ex-fiancé and my cousin would be getting married. And to make matters worse, the wedding I was planning months ago is still going to happen. All of it. From the invitations to the reception right down to the florist. All of it was going to happen exactly as I had planned, but not to me. I took a deep breath. Everything is going exactly as I had imagined it would be since I was a little girl, except that I'm not going to be the bride. I didn't know that I was crying until Ryder reached up and wiped my tears with his thumb. He had a serious look on his face. He didn't say anything, but I knew he understood how I felt. I took another deep breath. And worse, I have to keep a brave face in front of my family. I'm going to attend the wedding. He raised a brow. Surely they can't ask that of you. Oh, they can. Her father was like a father to me, too. I'm going to do it for him. But God, I can't be there alone. And what do you need a straight guy for? I need some guy to pretend to be my boyfriend, to pretend that he can't keep his hands off me, to be in love with me so I can keep my dignity. I replied. You don't just need a straight guy, he said, his eyes narrowed. You need to make everybody think that you are a lot better off. I was taken aback by his analysis. Apparently Ryder's IQ was higher than I'd given him credit for. I admired how immediately he was able to deduce my desperation. I nodded. The wedding's in a week. I'm desperate. I'm willing to pay if necessary. He looked like he was taken aback, but then he chuckled. That's cute, he said. If I ask you, will you help me? I asked boldly. I knew that it was now or never. While the margarita was still effective in my head, I had to say it. Ryder seemed like a man who had been through a lot in his life, and it would probably take a lot to surprise him, but I could see that I had done just that with flying colors. I'll pay you. I'll make it worth your while, I said. He chuckled, and then he leaned his face closer toward mine. You might not be able to afford me, sweetheart, he said. Everybody has a price, I said, refusing to back down. True, he said, leaning away from me. I'm not sure I'm for sale, though. 10 grand. One night. All you need to do is rent a nice suit, come in a fancy car, maybe a Boxster, and rent a diamond ring, or something that will pass for a diamond ring, at least 2 carats in size. He raised a brow. You really are desperate, aren't you? I took a deep breath and stared back at him, but I didn't say another word. Why the ring? He asked. I took a sip of my margarita. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. I find a lot of things you've said to me tonight hard to believe, but damn, I still believe you. So try me again, he replied. My fiancé gave me a 2-carat diamond ring when he proposed. He said he worked hard for it and that it represented how much he valued me. When we broke up, my friends convinced me to pawn it to get back at him. I was jobless anyway and I could use the money. I went to the jewelry store and had the ring checked out. It turned out to be cubic zirconia, gold-plated. I couldn't believe it. What a fool I'd been. I rushed out of the shop crying like a baby. I didn't realize it, but tears were rolling down my cheeks. Again, Ryder reached out to wipe my cheeks with his fingers. When I looked up at him, I saw that his expression was soft, like his heart had just broken for me too. Do you really think I'm capable of making your ex-fiancé feel like a dwarf? He asked softly. I giggled in spite of my tears. Needless to say, you're 100 times better looking than he is. Plus, he's just an inch taller than me. He's short to begin with. He chuckled. Then gently, he squeezed my nose. All right, I'll help you out. You name the time and the place. I looked up at him and searched his face. And somehow, his expression was warm and genuine. It seemed that my story moved him, and he was helping me out just to help me out, not just for the cash. You need to rent out a nice suit. I might be wearing something violet at the wedding. Their motif is green. I want to make sure I will stand out." He laughed. "All right. I'll be your knight in shining Armani."